Now, when we talk about this process, which is called stoichiometry, and you'll hear me call it stoichiometry or refer to it as stoichiometry throughout the semester, whenever we are dealing with a stoichiometric type calculation or thinking about something stoichiometrically, it doesn't always have to be that we're starting off with some amount of reactant and we're producing some product. It can be that we know how much product we are producing, and we can determine how much reagent we would need to produce that amount of product. Pretty much any two things, any two compounds in the balanced chemical equation, we can use the stoichiometric amounts, we can use the coefficients to calculate the amount of, or the relationship mass-wise or mole-wise between any of those two compounds. So in this problem, it talks about 6.23 moles of lithium reacting with excess water. So in this case, it says we have 6.23 moles of lithium. And in this reaction, we have solid lithium reacting with water to produce lithium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. So we are basically, because we're starting in moles, and it's going to be the basic form of stoichiometry that we would see is when we have moles. A lot of times we're actually going to have to get 2 moles in some way before we can do this stoichiometric calculation or use the stoichiometric ratio. But here we're starting with moles, and we want to convert or determine how much hydrogen gas is produced. In particular, we want to know how many moles of hydrogen gas can be produced. So, in any conversion problem, we want to put the unit on the bottom that we want to cross out. We want to get rid of moles of lithium, and we'd like to end up with moles of hydrogen. And that may not be apparent to you right at this moment that there is a relationship between those two, but by the time we get done with this problem, and hopefully by the time we cover this in class, you're going to understand that the balanced chemical equation is going to give you that. Now, you might say, how do I know that an equation is balanced? That's an important question. And so what I'm going to tell you is that if there are coefficients that are not, or that are different than 1, you can almost guarantee that that equation has been balanced. I can't think of anyone that would only balance an equation halfway or part of the way and leave the rest for you to figure out. So if you see numbers here that are greater than 1, you can pretty much assume that they're balanced. If they're all 1, it might be something that you'd want to check to make sure the equation is balanced before you use it. Because the ratio of these coefficients that we're going to use in the stoichiometric calculation require that the equation be balanced. If it's not balanced, that ratio is going to be wrong, it's going to be meaningless, it's not going to have any physical significance, and so what you're going to calculate is going to be wrong. So always make sure that equation is balanced, or check for that. So one thing, what we need to do is we want to go from moles of lithium to moles of hydrogen. 2 things that are within this chemical equation. One is a reactant, another is a product. Now, we know what 2 units we want. We want the moles of lithium to cross out. We want to get moles of hydrogen. So all we need to do, and this is so straightforward, but it can be so complicated to wrap your head around it, is we just need to look at the coefficients in front of lithium and hydrogen and place them right into that conversion factor. So what I'm saying is that 2 moles of lithium are going to react with 2 moles of water to produce 2 moles of lithium hydroxide and 1 mole of hydrogen gas. So every time that 2 moles of lithium react, it's going to produce 1 mole of hydrogen gas. Just taking the coefficients from in front of the compounds that I want to convert between. That's it. That's all there is to it. Literally, that is the end of the problem besides doing the calculation. So all I'm going to do is, I know the unit is moles of hydrogen. That's what I want to end up with. How many moles of hydrogen can be produced from these 6.23 moles of lithium? Go through and perform the calculation, and you should get 3.12 moles of hydrogen can be produced. That's what a basic stoichiometric calculation would look like. Now I'm going to tell you, as I said before, we don't usually start with moles of our reactant. We don't normally just want moles of our product. It's usually grams, or it's liters, or it's milliliters, or it's some other unit of measure that we can use to measure out an amount of stuff. And so you're going to have to do some conversions before and after this step here. But this step will be inherent to every stoichiometric calculation that you will work on.